Back to Breakdown of the Bones, presented by our friends at the Bone and Joint Center. I am Charlie Voker. He's Rob Totaro. And thanks for listening this morning and hanging out here on Sunday Sports Buzz. Don't forget, you can like us on Facebook, or today you can watch us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at BuzzSunday and catch all of our interviews on our website, SundaySportsBuzz.com. Coming up in the SEFQ Sunday Sit-Down, we're going to talk to Andy Vasquez of NorthJersey.com about the Jets' new head coach, and we'll hear from him in just a few. But now it's time for Breakdown of the Bones, presented by our friends at the Bone and Joint Center. The Bone and Joint Center with 7 convenient locations throughout the capital region and urgent care on the second floor of their Washington Avenue office. They are ever expanding. They built a big one up in Malta. And here to shine some light on the injuries of the world is our good friend, Dr. Alley. Good morning, Dr. Alley.
Putting a lot of pressure on me as usual, Charlie.
I like that. You know, like the cleanup hitter. I mean, you're in the 9:15 slot. You are right there in the meat of the lineup, and we count on you to come through each and every week.
Happy to be on.
Okay, last week you were talking about rules in the operating room, and we got a question about it. Our buddy Pete in Manorville, who listens online on SundaySportsBuzz.com, he said, can you ask Dr. Alley if there's a certain temperature in the operating room?
That's actually an excellent question, because we monitor very closely both the temperature and also the humidity in the room. So generally, the room is kept what you would think is sort of a little uncomfortably cold. So many times the patient's brought in, why is it so cold in here? And it's really a couple of factors. Mostly it's for comfort of the staff, who are going to be covered up with gowns and also lead on top of it.
Right.
There's some thought that it may help with keeping the bacteria count down, but it's really, you don't want the patient too cold. So usually if it's going to be a longer operation, we're going to cover them up with heating devices, these bear huggers. But it's usually 68 degrees in the room is our goal. And then our relative humidity can be no higher than 60. If it goes higher, we shut that room down.
Really?
Yes. Because it can actually start raining in the room. So all of this is metal devices, and if the relative humidity gets too high, water starts condensing on the ceiling, and it starts raining in the room, which is, sounds like a Seinfeld episode, but I've seen it happen, and the room gets shut.
Well, that's pretty cool. So Pete in Manorville had a great question for us, so keep your questions coming in, and we'll keep firing away at Dr. Alley, because I've got a million questions for you. Yesterday, Cooper Kupp, he couldn't play, and he didn't suit up because of bursitis in his knee. You hear about bursitis all the time. What is bursitis, and is it only to the knee?
Well, again, itis in general means inflammation. So we've talked about, tendonitis, inflammation of tendons. The burses, there's 100 of them at least in your body. They're all over. They're little tiny sacs that are there to allow tendons to move beneath bones or the skin to move over bony prominences. And the ones that we usually see are front of the knee and the elbow. So people will come in with this, tennis ball-sized swelling on their elbow. Many of the time, no injury. It's usually painless other than affecting your motion. And generally, we tell people to sort of leave it alone. Everyone wants to get a needle stuck into it and pull out the fluid. But if you just put a needle in and draw it out, the fluid's probably going to come back. And what we fear about it is it getting infected. So little fluid collections in the body can get infected. And your biggest defense against infection is the intact skin over these. So usually we don't aspirate it or pull out the fluid unless it's been there for a real long time, and then you pull it out and then put in cortisone. But again, that lowers your infection. So usually they're not overly painful. They can restrict your motion. He was limping a fair amount, and that would, certainly if it was low-grade infection, which it can happen, that can cause those increasing symptoms. Or unique to football players and motorcycle riders is a thing called a Morel-Lavallee lesion, which sounds, complicated, named after someone in the past, but it's a degloving injury where you stop abruptly and the skin and the layers below separate from the muscle, and you get this. It's a big soft tissue injury. And so it's when people come off motorcycle, hit the ground, or landing on the turf on your knee. We see it a lot in football players, and that's much more painful, and it sort of could be likened to a bursitis. So that could be, partially in play, too. I don't know.
So are these injuries going to happen around things like your wrist, your elbow, your knee, your ankle, your shoulder more often?
Yes, it's over the joints. They're there for the joints to be fluid and moving. We see them a lot in the hips, trochanteric bursitis or shoulder bursitis, and it's very common.
This is Breakdown of the Bones, presented by our friends at the Bone and Joint Center. We are hanging out with sports medicine expert and orthopedic surgeon Dr. Max Alley. Don't forget, you can listen to every episode of Breakdown of the Bones on our website, SundaySportsBuzz.com. And let's go back a little bit to these injuries that affect, like with bursitis. Is this something that you can recover from quickly?
Yeah, usually they're going to go away on their own. But what people have to be mindful of is if it starts acting red, that's a whole different ball game, and those can go out of control very quickly. So if they get a bad bug, which you hear about staph and MRSA, that's not the bad bug. It's strep. Okay. Strep is the one that can start tracking up your arm, and it can be really life-threatening. So if you have a bursa or even some little infection that's getting red and then starting to go and travel and, almost like every hour it's worse, that you got to get to the emergency room because it can really go rapidly.
Okay, I saw you yesterday at the U-Albany basketball game, and you were excited about the tip of the week that you have.
Well, yes, because this is talk about an avoidable thing.
See, I can tell you're excited,
and you see it everywhere. So one local health insurance company actually had a advertisement with these two grandparents sort of swinging this child through their arms.
Yes.
Or you'll see it with the grandfather doing the airplane spin. So in kids like 1 to 4 years of age, their elbow is loose and a traction-type injury, and they can even just do it to themselves, learning to stand, pulling themselves up, will dislocate their radial head, which is what controls rotation of your forearm. All of a sudden, they just won't move their arm. There's no swelling. It won't move at all. And there's a reduction maneuver that you can put it back into place. But it's this traction injury. So never, never, never pull your kid's arm or lift him by his arm or swing him. I called a guy at the insurance company, and I said, you might as well put a cigarette hanging out of the grandfather's mouth to make it the full Monty here. What do you mean? I said, that's a horrible thing to be showing. You cannot do that. It's totally avoidable. It's called a nursemaid's elbow.
Wow. Well, Rob and I start before the show each day, swing each other around the studio here. So we're going to stop that.
No, after age 5, everything tightens up. You're safe. You can go about your circus antics safely.
Oh, let me tell you something. Everything tightens up. It gets tighter and tighter every single year. Hey, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, Dr. Max Alley, our orthopedic surgeon, sports medicine guru, always answering the questions, and we really appreciate it.
I'm going to get back to my favorite Christmas gift, my air fryer.
Oh, yeah? What are we frying up today?
Bacon. Starting off with the bacon.
Stay healthy, Doc. Yeah. Stay healthy.
We're going to get you on those dietary tips next week, and that is Breakdown of the Bones. Thanks a lot, Dr. Alley. He is Dr. Max Alley, and always a lot of fun. Getting the air fryer out, it doesn't really get much better than him.
It was great because I was wondering what he's frying at 9:15 in the morning.
Me too.
Now it makes sense. It's all come together. I do want him to be my nutritionist in addition to him being my orthopedist for years now.
When he was telling us before we got on, I'm messing around with the air fryer. I'm thinking, is he frying up chicken like this early in the morning? What is possibly, but bacon makes sense.
So for your list, Charlie, I want to add, how long does he consider a long surgery? Because I've had some surgeons in long, so like 18-hour surgeries, no breaks, like.
Yeah, that's a good question for next week. And if you have a question, hit us up at Buzz Sunday. Hit us up on SundaySportsBuzz.com. You can send us an email. You can do whatever. Text us. Anything you want to do, get us. So you can go to @RobTataro or @CharlieVolker. And hit us up on Twitter and send us a message. And we will get your question on with Dr. Alley. When we come back, Jet fans should be excited for their new head coach. We'll find out with a guy who knows a thing or two about the New York Jets. Andy Vasquez from NorthJersey.com comes up and tells us everything about the new Jets coach. This is Sunday Sports Buzz. I'm Charlie Volker. He's Rob Tataro. You're listening to 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio, and the free 104.5 The Team app.